we've got some beautiful Brisbane water straight from the Brown Snake, just to top it off.
Where are your filters? They're pretty good, right?
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of A Beer with the Brewer. Today we are joined by Mitch from Bintani. How are you, mate?
G'day, Matty. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming in on this nice warm Queensland day.
It's a warm one at 10 o'clock in the morning, 30 degrees.
So we're here today to have a chat about our recent collab, mate. We've just put together our latest single hop beer using the new hop called Ahhhroma out of Montana in the States. I think it's the first time we've done a beer together.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, first collab, it's great.
Awesome. So before we delve into the beer, mate, talk a little bit about yourself. I believe in a previous life you used to be a brewer.
Brewed once upon a time, many moons ago, Matty.
So a Northern Queenslander?
Yeah, North Queensland, yep. So brewed up at the Townsville Brewery for quite a few years, and now working with Bintani for the last 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, it's been
that's a good job.
It's been a while.
You would have earned some long service leave, mate.
Yeah. Seen a few breweries pop up over the years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It would have been pretty different, particularly in Queensland 10 years ago.
Well, mate, I think back then when I was brewing, that really you can count on one hand the number of breweries in Queensland. So yeah, it's certainly a different environment now, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I've been in Queensland 5, and even since I've been here, I've seen it explode. Particularly like in Brisbane, both coasts have sort of exploded. I haven't spent a lot of time up north, but when I was up there this time last year, there was little breweries sort of smattering around everywhere. Yeah,
I mean, even in Cairns, you've got 3 or 4 breweries. Townsville's got a few breweries now. Even Magnetic Island off the coast of Townsville, there's a brewery up there. There's Mackay, Gladdy, Yeppoon. There's breweries scattered all the way up and down the coast. And somebody told me yesterday there was 22 breweries on the Sunshine Coast, which I find staggering.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they're getting pretty big, a couple of them.
Yeah.
Now, mate, I think we need to mention, you've been working for Bintani for 10 years. I think I've been buying ingredients off them for at least 15. And finally, making this beer, I've got the famed blue Bintani shirt.
Mate, that's a great shirt right there.
I'm very proud and excited to be wearing it. I did just have to race home to get it because I forgot it. Being very organised.
Mate, I'm proud to see you sporting it today.
Absolutely. I think I joked with you over email. It's almost as prestigious and hard to get as the famed Fireman red jumpsuit.
Mate, it's pretty special. You've got to do something pretty special to be able to wear that one. So
it feels very nice on too. Anyway, mate, I better crack this beer open. Sitting here teasing us. Beautiful. Cheers, mate.
I'll fill it up.
Top her up.
Cheers, Matty.
Cheers. So, Ahhhroma. Interesting name for a hop. I think 2 or 3 months ago you popped in and we were chatting about it. You mentioned you got this sort of new hop out of the States, very limited in Australia. Yeah,
this one, very limited. It's only in its 2nd year of production, which means that, they don't get a great yield per acreage. So we could only get our hands on 100 kilos. So only a small number of breweries in Australia got their chance to sort of use this hop this year.
100 kilos, not much.
Yeah, not much. So, it's the first time we've been able to bring it down. But next year, as the crop gets bigger and bigger, we'll be able to bring more and more down. So there'll be more brewers being able to get their hands on it to have a play with it.
Actually, I met Tom from Glacier Hops Ranch when I was down in Melbourne last week, where Ahhhroma hops come from. He was pretty excited about it coming into Australia and that we'd made the beer.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's very good timing that you got to meet him. Cowboy hat, boots and belt buckle and all. He
couldn't look more like the sort of typical American from a ranch. I think straight out of Yellowstone.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's very exciting. So I mean, what's different about this hop and unique, I suppose, is one, it is a new variety, but we've never brought a hop down from the state of Montana before. As you know, Matt, most hops from the US, from the Pacific Northwest. So you're talking Washington State and Idaho State, but we've moved one state further east to Montana, and yeah, it's really interesting.
Pretty cool, really, to see sort of new varieties and new farms popping up.
Yeah, and this one, the oil content of this hop is just through the roof. And I guess, you know, I don't know whether you asked Tom when you spoke to him, but I don't know how they came up with the name, but obviously it's very juicy.
Absolutely, like you can taste the oil in the beer. So the oil is what brings out sort of the flavour and the aroma once it's in the beer. For me, when it was fermenting, it was almost like a tin of fresh pineapple juice.
Yeah.
I think that's mellowed out a little bit now, and I'm getting more sort of lemony citrus.
Yeah, I still, for mine, I still get the pineapple. As soon as we opened that, yeah, the first thing that sort of came to me was that sort of tropical fruit character. One thing I'll say about this, I spent a bit of time pulling out all the spider charts, so the flavour charts for about 20 different varieties of hops, some of the biggest hops that I could find, and none of them match up to this one.
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know, the spider chart is the sensory about you know, the flavours that a team of people can pick in a hop variety.
Yeah, so it's got things like fruity, woody, spicy.
Yeah, yeah, and there was just nothing that really matched up to this. And what I would say is that I think it scored either a 0 or 1 for spiciness. So there's no real spicy character. It is all fruit driven.
Yeah, it
really
is, yeah.
Heavily driven towards fruit character.
It's very interesting. The that pineapple. There's no, as you say, there's no spice. There's no dankness that you get with some hops.
No.
Particularly some of those classic American ones from that area of America have that. If particularly using this much hop as well, that really sort of dank flavour that comes through when the beer's really fresh.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, yeah, heavily skewed on the fruity side for mine, which. In my mind, I'm not sure whether you agree with this or what your thoughts are, but it makes it very versatile on like even very light style of beers. It could be used on, in my mind as well, from anything to, you know, IPAs where you do want that fruit character, but even a light summer,
yeah, definitely,
summer ale or something like that could really benefit from
I
this.
think it would work well as a companion hop in other beers. So obviously this is on its own, so we get to showcase it.
Yeah.
But would go well with some of those sort of new age American hop stuff like El Dorado and Idaho 7 that have that sort of tropical flavour to it in those sort of new age fruity beers.
This beer particularly though, again, like flavour profile from the hops, there's no rawness there, is it? It's very smooth, easy to drink, refreshing, I would say.
Yeah, I think that comes from that sort of citrusy, lemony zest. It's quite clean. It doesn't have, as well as quite high oil content, it was pretty high in alpha. So I think it was up around 16, 17, which is pretty high. Yeah. But I think the way we sort of used it in the beer, we didn't overload the whirlpool or the hot side of the brew. A lot of the flavour is from the dry hop. So you get the nice sort of flavour without that aggressive bitterness. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing there that sort of stays with you and sort of you know, scratches the palate or anything like that. It's there's a smoothness to it, that's for sure. Mate, so obviously the Ahhhroma hops are the star of the show in this one, but we shouldn't forget the malt we've used in the background that support the beer. So in this one we've used the latest Joe White signature. Yeah, yeah. Tell us a bit about that. There's another secret weapon in this beer that makes it so good is the signature malt. So the signature malt is our single origin, traceable back to paddock malt that we do with Joe White. Now this malt is in its 5th season. So this stuff is this is coming out of New South Wales. This malt this year, and not too far away. So not, you know, hasn't done a whole heap of kilometres to get here. But yeah, it is a nice clean malt, which also adds to this profile in this beer. So the single origin malt for the people at home, can you explain what that is and why that's important? Yeah, so basically each year we source the best barley we can find throughout Australia, and then we'll
we'll have that malted to the signature spec. And we'll malt that all year. So what happens is when that goes to the maltster, it's the same barley going through, the same malt house, each batch. So there's a lot of consistency, and what that means is it's consistent for the maltster, but that also transfers to the brewer. So it's consistent for the brewer. So what that means is you get consistent grain size, consistent extract, consistent attenuation, all that sort of stuff. So I think I'll throw a question back to you and ask you what your thoughts were, how it performed in the brewery as far as lautering, extract, and all that sort of stuff.
Through the brewery, it performed pretty well. It lautered pretty well, and we also got quite good extract out of it. So there are two key things we look for. And then the beer's attenuated out, so it sort of hits all those marks. Yeah. And looking at the colour, it's a beautiful sort of yellowy, sort of bright colour. I think we just used one bag of Vienna to help lift that a little bit. Yeah. Just give it a little bit of a more malty sort of background. Yeah. So which actual variety of malt is this?
I'll get the pronunciation wrong, but this is actually Bowden or Bowden. It's B-A-U-D-I-N.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's, again, it yields well, performs well, in this season. It's actually the second year that we've been back to this particular growing region, which is Ungary, New South Wales. That was our very first signature malt 5 years ago. We've travelled around, we've been to Tasmania, Victoria, but this season that malt just was the best malt that we could find. So the best malt that we can find goes into that bag.
So who is the actual variety selected by? Is that the farmer in the first place and then they're banking on it being used, or is that feedback from you guys? Is it feedback from the maltster or even the brewers? Yeah,
what you find is the farmer will be the one that chooses because he knows his region, what grows best. Yep. So, it might be that, a few valleys over, that particular variety doesn't grow as well for that farmer for whatever reason. So, the farmer would choose the barley variety that performs best. It has to yield well. It has to tick a lot of boxes so that it's malting grade and doesn't go to feed. So, those farmers know what they're doing as far as, what performs best in their paddocks.
I think it really highlights what an agricultural product beer is.
Yeah.
We're getting malt from different regions. Obviously the hops are all from different regions and grow and perform differently in different growing regions. Yeah. Like the hops have come from Montana, which is brand new in the States.
Yeah, so it's really interesting with this beer, we can trace back both the malt and the hops right back to paddock and their origin, so it's pretty cool.
And we've got some beautiful Brisbane water straight from the Brown Snake, just to top it off.
Where are your filters? They're pretty good, right?
Well, looking out the window here, it's looking pretty brown at the moment with a bit of water coming down. No, you won't scare people off. All our water's heavily filtered. Beautiful. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a winner, mate. Speaking to Tom, we might be teeing something up with him for the CBC next year. It would be pretty exciting in Nashville.
Trip to Nashville, that'd be pretty good. I'm sure they'll be there.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you and I will be there too.
Mate, after 10 years, I reckon you probably deserve a trip to Nashville. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming in and being a part of the beer. It's been fun to make and cool to explore a new style.
Cheers, thanks for having me.
And more importantly, the most exciting thing is finally getting my Bintani shirt.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.